is meaning, my dear sister, through common blood. Do you know of any evil from Oedipus Zeus will not perform on us who still live? For what I have seen is nothing. Nothing painful, nothing mad or shameful or dishonorable that is not among your or my sorrows. And now what do they say? The general has just put an edict over the whole city. Have you heard it? Or have you avoided learning how our friends suffer the fate of foes?
No words of friends, Antigone, either sweet or painful, has come to me since we two sisters were robbed of two brothers, both dying the same day by double hand. But since the army of the Argives departed last night, I've seen nothing else, either to cause me to rejoice or to weep.
I knew it. For this reason I brought you outside of the gates, that you alone might hear.
What? You seem to ponder something deeply.
Indeed! For of our two brothers, Creon gives an honorable burial to one, but dishonors the other. They say that he hid Eteocles beneath the earth with well-deserved pomp and circumstances, one honored among the dead below. But the corpse of Polynices, who died so sadly, they say it has been declared to the citizens that no one may bury or mourn him, but must see him unlamented, unburied, a sweet find for birds to feast upon. Such things, they say, our good Creon has decreed for you and me. For me, I say. For he considers it no small matter, but for the one who does it, the penalty is death by public stoning. There you have it. And soon you shall show how nobly you honor your noble birth.
But what more, my poor girl, in times like these could I do that would not tangle the knot further?
Will you share in the labor and the deed?
What is the venture? Where have your thoughts gone?
Will you lift the corpse with this very hand?
You want to bury him? Although it's forbidden in the city?
I'll bury my brother. Your brother, too! Though you refuse, I'll not be found a traitor.
Mad woman! Even when Creon forbids it.
He has no right to keep me from my own.
No, sister, think how our father died, hated and infamous from offenses self-detected, smiting both of his eyes with his very own hands. His wife and mother, both words at once, took her own life with twisted noose, and then third, our two brothers in just one day slew each other, poor wretches, achieving a common doom at one another's hands. And now the two of us left all alone. Think of how very horribly we will die if we go against the king's decree and strength outside the law. Rather, consider that we were born women, proving we should not fight with men, and that we are ruled by more powerful people and must obey them, even in more painful things. Therefore, I will yield to those who walk with authority.
I would not order you. And if you change your mind now, I would not have you do it with me. Do whatever you want, and I will bury him. It seems fair for me to die in doing it. I will lie dear to him with one dear to me, a holy outlaw, since I must please those below a longer time than people here. You, though, dishonor the gods' commands if you wish.
I do not dishonor them, but to do this against the state, I have no strength for it.
Use that excuse if you like, but I will go and heap up a tomb for my dearest brother.
Alas, how I fear for you, dearest girl. Then at least proclaim this deed to no one. No, Antigone. Antigone, come back. Antigone, please. Antigone, you should not begin an impossible quest.
If you say this, you will be hateful to me, and the dead will hate you always, justly. But let me suffer this terrible thing, for I shall succumb to nothing so awful as a shameful death.
Then go. But know that your friends truly love you, however foolish.
Ray of the sun, fairest light of all those shining on seven-gated Thebes, at last you appeared. O eyes of golden day, coming over streams of Dirce, you sent away the white-shielded warrior from Argos, running from here with your piercing bridle. He set forth against our land because of the contentious claims of Polynices, like a sharply crying eagle flying into our land, covered with a wing as white as snow, descending with many shields and crested with horsehair. He perched on the roof, gaping wide with bloody spears around our seven gates. But then he went away, before his jaws were filled with our blood, or Hephaestus' torches could take our crown of towers. Such a clash of Ares swelled behind him, a hard conquest for dragon's rival. For Zeus hates excessively the boasts of a great tongue, and looking on them coming in rapid flow, overconfident in clanging gold, he threw down the one rushing with brandished fire to the top of his goal, seeking already to proclaim his victory. He fell in an arc to the hard ground, torch in hand, the one who with raging onslaught fiercely was breathing with the rush of the most hateful winds. But those things went otherwise, and great Ares sent them to various fates, smiting them with our chariot's strongest horse. 7 captains at our 7 gates, marshaled against equal foes, left to Zeus the rout of bronze weapons, except those 2 wretches, who were born of the same father and the same mother, standing against each other with doubly slaying spear. They both took an equal share of their common breath. But since great-named victory came, rejoicing in answer with Thebes of many chariots, let us enjoy oblivion of the recent wars, and let us go to all the temples of the gods to dance through the night, and may Bacchus, who has made Thebes shake, be our leader. But here is the king of this land, Creon, son of Menesius, our new leader in this new situation given by the gods.
Gentlemen, the gods have set right again our city's affairs after shaking them in a storm. And I have summoned you here knowing well how you always revered the power of Laius' throne. Both when Oedipus saved the city and when he fell, you stood in consistent support of their children. And so, since in the same day they both fell, spreading fratricidal pollution, now I hold sole power of the throne as I am the closest relation to the fallen. It is impossible to know the soul of any man until he has proven himself in the law, but may all-seeing Zeus be my witness, I would never be silent if I saw madness creeping among the citizens in a place of salvation, nor would I consider an enemy of my country a friend to myself. Therefore, I have made a decree concerning the sons of Oedipus. Eteocles, who fell fighting for this city, who earned every prize of valor, will be buried and receive all honors that go to the best of the dead below. His erstwhile kinsman, Polynices, who returned from exile with hopes of burning his native land and ancestral gods from top to bottom, wishing to feast on kindred blood and lead all the rest into slavery. He shall be neither buried nor mourned by anyone, but left a feast for birds and dogs, an outrage to see. This is my judgment, and never from me will the base take equal honor to the gods.
You are at your pleasure to decide this, son of Menesius, concerning the city's friend and foe. You may use any habit both with the dead and with all of us who live.
Then I would have you keep watch over my words.
Give this task to a younger man to do.
No, the corpse's guards are already posted.
What would you have us do beyond this?
Do not join with those disobeying it.
No man is so foolish as to lust for death.
And truly, that is this deed's reward. But often, profit has destroyed men through their hopes.
My lord,
I will not say that I've come breathless from rushing or quickly moving my feet, for often my thoughts stopped me in my place and I wheel around on the road back where I came. Thus the short road became a long one. I came seized by hope to suffer nothing but my fated doom.
Why is it you have this lack of spirit?
Just now someone has buried the corpse and gone off, sprinkling dust over its flesh and performing the due rites.
What did you say? What man has dared to do this?
I don't know, for there was no stroke of mattock or heap from a shovel, just hard earth and dry land, unbroken. When the day first showed it to us, we all thought it was the most distressing marvel, for although he was hidden from sight, he wasn't entombed per se, but there was little dust on him as one flaying a curse.
My lord, my mind has long been counseling that perhaps this was the work of the gods.
You're both old and foolish. Would they honor him as a benefactor who came to set fire to their temples girt with columns, to scatter their donations, earth, and laws? Or do you revere gods who honor evil men? These guards have been bribed. I can see that clearly. Know this well, and I will say an oath before you, unless you find the culprit of this tomb and bring him before these eyes of mine, death alone will not protect you. You'll all be hanged alive to demonstrate your insolent crime.
May I say something, or should I just turn and go?
This world has many wonders, but nothing is more wondrous than humanity. It crosses even the gray sea with a stormy south wind, passing under churning wave in open water. And the oldest of the gods, immortal, inexhaustible earth, it wears away with clouds of winds back and forth, year after year, turning up the soil with the offspring of horses. He taught himself language and wind-like thought and city-ruling urges, how to flee the slings of frost under winter's clear sky, and the arrows of stormy rain, ever resourceful. Against no possibility is he at a loss. For death alone he finds no aid, but he has devised escape for impossible diseases. With clever creativity beyond expectation, he moves now to evil, now to good. The one who observes the laws of the land and justice are compact with the gods is honored in the city. But there is no city for one who participates in what is wrong for the sake of daring. Let him not share my hearth, nor let me share his ideas who has done these things. What strange omen now confuses my sight? How can I deny that I know this young girl, Antigone? Oh, poor child of your poor father Oedipus, what is this? Have they somehow caught you breaking the king's laws?
Here is she who did the deed. She's the one we found burying him.
What is this? What chance makes my coming timely?
I came here bringing this girl, who was captured performing the rites of burial. Now then, my lord, you take her as you wish, and question her and sentence her. I've freed myself from these troubles.
But to bring her, where did you find her? How?
She was burying the man. You know it all.
Do you really mean what you are saying?
I saw her burying the corpse you forbade. Am I speaking clearly enough?
You there, staring down at the ground, speak up. Do you affirm or deny doing these things?
I assert that I did it. I do not deny it.
You may take yourself where you will. tell me briefly, not at length, did you know it had been announced not to do this?
I did. Why would I not know? It was clear.
And you dared to overstep these laws?
Because it wasn't Zeus who pronounced these things to me, nor did justice. Companion of the gods below established such laws for humanity. I would never think your pronouncements had such great strength that, being mortal, they could override the unwritten, everlasting prescriptions of the gods. I did not intend to pay the penalty to the gods for violating these laws in fear of some man's opinion. For I know I will die. How could I not, even if you had not proclaimed it? But if I die before my time, I say this is an advantage. Anyone who lives a life of sorrow as I do, how could they not count it as a blessing to die? Therefore there is no pain for me in meeting this fate.
But know that hard minds fall the hardest, and that iron, so powerful of itself, baked to exceeding hardness, you might see crack and break into pieces. She showed herself capable of insolence then, going beyond the laws before her. Her second insolence after she had done it was to exult in her deed and laugh that she had done it. Now I am no man, but she is the man if power lies with her with impunity. No. Even if she were closer than my sister's child, closer than any who share my family's chapel, she and her sister will not escape the worst fate. For that girl as well I charge as equal in plotting this burial. Her too. Bring her here.
Do you want something more than killing me?
Nothing more. I have that, and I have it all.
Then why wait? Nothing you say gives me the slightest pleasure. I pray nothing you say ever will. And by nature I offend you. And yet could my fame be more gloriously established than by placing my brother in a tomb? I think all these people would agree if fear did not hold their tongues. Tyranny is lucky in many ways, above all in doing and saying what it will.
You alone of all Cadmus race think this.
These think it too, but hold their tongues for you.
An enemy is not a friend, even when dead.
The dead man would not agree with you.
If you honor him equally with the wicked.
I cannot share in their hate, only their love.
Then go below, and if you must be loved, love them. No woman will rule while I live.
Here is Ismene.
You, like a creeping viper, you hid in my house, poisoning me. Come, tell me, will you also claim a share of this funeral? Do you deny it?
I did the deed, if she consents, and I will take and bear the charge.
But justice will not allow this to you, since neither did you want nor did I share it.
But in your time of trouble, I'm not afraid to sail the stormy seas beside you.
Death and the dead will witness who did the deed. I love no friends who are only friends in words.
No, sister, do not dishonor me, but let me die with you and honor him who died.
You may not die with me, nor call yours that which you did not touch.
Could I desire life when you have left me?
Ask Creon, since you are his protector.
Why do you grieve me if it does not help yourself?
If I mock you, I do so with pain.
But now, what can I do to help you now?
Save yourself. I do not grudge you your escape.
Poor girl, am I to have no share in your fate?
Cheer up. You live, but my soul has been dead a long time, that I might serve the dead.
You would kill the bride of your own son.
There are other fields just as fertile. I do not want bad wives for my son.
Oh, dearest Haemon, how your father injures you.
Death himself will stop this wedding for me. Waste no more time, but bring them inside now, guards. From now on, they must be women and not wander free. For even brave men flee when they see death so close.
Truly blessed are those who have not witnessed evil. For to them whose house is shaken by the gods, no species of madness is left out, creeping over the majority of the family. I see that the old woes of the house of Lamentations add to the woes of the dead. Nor does the new generation deliver its race, but one of the gods throws them down. They have no release, for now the light has fallen on the last root of the house of Oedipus. Bloody ashes of the lower gods now mow her down in turn, along with the folly of argument and fury of wits. O Zeus, what human transgression could limit your power? All-catching sleep never takes it, nor the unwearied months of the gods, but as never-decaying master, you hold the brilliant radiance of Olympus. The law will prevail, in time that is, time to come, as in all time past. Nothing comes assuredly to every mortal life, nothing but the rush to ruin. But here is Haemon, the last and youngest of your children. Does he come in grief for the fate of his intended bride, the maiden Antigone, in mourning for the bed he was cheated of?
Son, can it be that you have heard my final vote and come to fight your father for your bride? Or am I your friend whatever I do?
Father, I am yours. And as you have me, you guide the best course for me to follow. No marriage will ever be more important to me than justly carrying out your precepts.
That is why a man prays to have obedient children in his house, that they may take vengeance on their father's enemy in bad times and honor his friends as he does himself. My boy, never give up your wits for a woman because of the pleasure, knowing that this darling becomes cold in your arms, your wife a wicked concubine in your house. Therefore, spit her out like the enemy, and let her find a husband in hell. Since I caught her alone of all entire people in open rebellion, I will not make myself a liar to this city, but kill her. So let her call on the Zeus of kinship, for if I nurture defiance in my relatives, I'd surely have to for those outside my clan. Rulers must be supported, and we must not yield to women.
Father, the gods endow human beings with intelligence, which is the greatest of all possessions. I could never... I don't know how to say you don't speak correctly, but sometimes another man's opinion is also right. I can hear these things in darkness. How the city weeps for this girl, says she's the least worthy of all women to die so badly for such noble deeds. She didn't let her brother, who had fallen in combat, lie unburied to be devoured by some ravenous dog or bird. They ought to give her an award, so the report spreads in darkness. When you do well, Father, I have more honored possession than that. For what prize is greater for children than a father's fame when he's prospering? Or a son's for his father? Don't be so stubborn that you say you and you alone are right. Whoever thinks that he's the only one who can think or use his tongue or soul, no one else, these men, when you open them up, are seen to be hollow. But for a man to learn, even a wise man, is nothing shameful not to learn to bend and give way. You see how, in the winter storms, the trees that yield save even their twigs, but those who oppose it are destroyed root and branch. Just so, the captain who never slackens a sail, once he's stretched, it gets his boat turned and sails the rest with benches upside down. Rather, yield your anger and let yourself change.
My lord, if someone speaks in reason, you should learn, and you also, for both sides have spoken well.
At our age, taught reason by a man so young.
Taught nothing that is not just. If I am young, I do not need more time to study what's right.
So, what's right includes revering anarchists?
I'd never tell someone to revere the wicked.
Then she has not been taken by this disease.
Her fellow citizens in Thebes deny it.
The city will tell me how I ought to rule it.
Do you hear how rash and young you sound?
Should I rule this land for myself or for others?
This city does not belong to one man.
Isn't the city thought to be her rulers?
Oh, you'd be a good monarch for a desert.
Oh, it seems he's an ally of the woman.
If you are a woman, I care only for you.
Worst of all men, at odds with your father.
Not when I see you at odds with justice.
Am I wrong to protect my empire?
You don't protect it when you trample the honor of the gods.
Disgusting character to play the second to a woman.
I would rather yield to her than to evil.
In any case, this whole speech is for her.
And for you, and me, and the gods below.
You cannot marry her while alive.
Then she will die. And dying destroy another.
Do you dare to threaten me so boldly?
What threat is it to speak my resolve to you?
You will regret teaching what you do not know.
Were you not my father, I would call you a fool.
You're the slave of a woman! Don't chatter at me!
Will you make arguments but hear no answer?
Then know you, by Olympus, that you shall not revile me with insults and rejoice. Bring the hated thing so that she may die at once, close by the eyes of her bridegroom.
No, not in my sight. Never think this can happen. She'll not die beside me, and you will never lay your eyes upon my face again. So rage with any of your friends who can bear it.
My lord, the man has gone quick with anger. His mind, at that age, bears pain violently.
Let him go and think superhuman thoughts, but he will not save these girls from their doom.
Do you intend to kill both of them?
Not the one who didn't touch him.
How do you intend to kill the other?
I shall take her to a place completely devoid of human life and hide her, living in a rocky cavern. I'll put in with her as much food as will ward off a curse, so that our city will escape all pollution. There she can pray to Hades, the only god she worships, and perhaps she will find a way not to die, or learn, though too late for her, that it is excessive work to love the dead.
See me, O citizens of my ancestral land, treading the final path, gazing on the final light of the sun never again. But death, the groom of all, leads me alive to the promontory of Acheron. I have no share of marriage hymns, nor will any hymn for my wedding anyhow, but I shall be the bride of death.
Therefore, you will go famous and honored into these depths of the dead, not stricken by wasting disease, nor taking the wages of the sword, but, alone of the mortals, you will go, the ruler of yourself, down to Hades.
I have heard that most sorrowfully did our Frisian guest die, the daughter of Tantalus on the Sibylline cliff. How like a vine of ivy the petrifying process overwhelmed her, and the rain never leaves her languishing there, so men say. Nor does the snow ever leave her, and beneath her tearful lids she wets the ridges with her tears. Now my destiny sends me to a rest most alike hers.
But she was a goddess and born of gods, while we are mortals of mortal race. Still, it will be to your great fame, as you die to share a lot of the godlike while you live, and later when you die.
Oh, I am mocked. By our father's gods, why do you outrage me? Not yet departed, but still in the light. O city, O rich gentlemen of the city, hail, springs of Dirce and grove of many charioted Thebes, all yet have you as my witness. I have no friends to mourn me. By what laws I go to the heaped up prison of my unheard tomb. Oh, my poor lot, who have no home among mortals or corpses, neither the living or the dead.
You went forward far too boldly and crashed into the lofty pedestal of justice, my child. You are paying for your father's crime.
You have touched the most painful of my cares. The thrice repeated doom of my father and this whole fate of ours. Oh, the sins of my mother's bed and my ill-fated mother's self-creating intercourse with my father. From such as these, I was born miserable. I'm going to live with them accursed, unwed. Oh, my brother, you struck an unlucky marriage, and dying, you killed me, though I still lived.
Songs and laments before death would never stop if they did any good. Take her away at once and shut her in her walled-up tomb, as I have said. Then leave her there alone, where she must either die or be entombed alive in such a house, for we have no guilt in this maiden's case.
O tomb, O bridal bower, O underground home, everlasting, I journey. To Creon I seem to have made a mistake and have done something terrible, my brother. Now he holds me thus in his hand, and leads me, without a wedding, no bridal hymn. I have no share of marriage or raising children, but as I am bereft of friends and unlucky, I am going alive into the depths of the dead. Which god's laws have I transgressed? Why should I look to the gods in my unhappiness? What ally can I have? In my case, being pious, I have won for myself the rewards of impiety. But if these men have sinned, may they not suffer more evils than they unjustly inflict on me.
All Danae's beauty was locked away in a brazen cell where sunlight could not come. A small room, still as any grave, enclosed her. Yet she was a princess too. And Zeus in a rain of gold poured love upon her. Oh, child, child, no power in wealth or war or tough sea-blackened ships can prevail against untiring destiny. And Dryas' son also, that furious king, bore the gods' prisoning anger from his pride. Sealed up by Dionysus in death's stone, his madness died among the echoes. So at last he learned what dreadful power his tongue had mocked. For he had profaned the revels and fired the wrath of the 9 implacable sisters that loved the sound of the flute. And old men tell a half-remembered tale of horror done where a dark ledge splits the sea and a double surf beats on the grey shores. How a king's new woman, sick with hatred for the queen he had imprisoned, ripped out his 2 sons' eyes with her bloody hand while grinning Ares watched the shuttle plunge 4 times. 4 blind wounds crying for revenge, crying tears and blood mingled, piteously born, those sons whose mother was of heavenly birth. Her father was the god of the north wind. She was cradled by gales. She raced with young colts on the glittering hills and walked untrammeled in the open light. But in her marriage, deathless fate found means to build a tomb, like yours, for all her joy.
Lord of Thebes, with 2 watching from 1, we have come treading our common road, for the road for the blind is from the guide.
What news do you have, O Tiresias?
I shall teach you, and you trust the seer.
It is not my custom to disagree with you.
And thus you have captained this city correctly.
I testify that you have helped me.
Think now that you have walked onto a razor's edge.
What is it, how I shudder at your word?
The divination of my arts will tell. Sitting on my throne of augury, as is my wont, where every fowl of heaven find harborage, upon my ears was borne a jargon strange of twitterings, hoots, and screams. So I knew that each bird at the other tear with bloody talons, for the whir of wings could signify nothing else. Perturbed in soul, I consulted the sacrifice by fire on blazing altars, but the god of fire came not in flame, and from the thigh bones dripped and sputtered in the ashes a foul ooze. Gallbladders cracked and spurted up, the fat melted and fell and left the thigh bones bare. O king, your willful temper ails the state, for all our shrines and altars are profaned by what has filled the maw of dogs and crows, the flesh of Oedipus's unburied son. Therefore the angry gods abominate our litanies and our burnt offerings. Therefore no birds trill out a happy note, gorged with the carnival of human gore. Oh, ponder this, my son. To err is common to all men, but the man who having erred hugs not his errors but repents and seeks the cure is not unhappy nor unwise. Let death disarm your vengeance, oh forbear to vex the dead. What glory will you win by slaying twice the slain? I mean you well. Counsels most welcome, if I promise gain.
By your kind I was bought and sold and carried home a long time ago. Make your profit. Purchase electrum from Sardis if you wish, and gold from India, but you will not place him in a tomb. Not if Zeus's own eagles want to snatch up the Creon and take it to the very throne of heaven. I'll not allow him to be buried for fear.
Fool! Does any man know? Does any consider how much prudence is the greatest of possessions?
As much as stupidity is the worst hurt.
You are infected with that ill yourself.
Go and release the maiden from her rocky home, and make a tomb for the unburied man.
You advise this? You believe I should yield?
As soon as possible, my lord.
To yield is grievous, but the obstinate soul that fights with fate is smitten grievously.
Go now and do it. Do not leave it to others.
I'll go just as I am. I bound her, and I will release her, for I fear it is best to keep the established laws as long as one lives.
What new grief of our kings do you bear us?
They are dead, but the living are worthy of death.
And who slew them? Who has fallen? Tell us!
Haemon is lost. His blood was spilt by familiar hand.
By his father's or his own hand?
Himself, raging at his father for the murder.
Oh, seer, how correct your prophecy turned out! And now I see poor Eurydice here, Creon's wife. She comes from the house mourning for her son. Or perhaps by chance?
Citizens, I hear your words, as I was coming to the door so that I could pray before the goddess Athena. Just as I was opening the door, the sound of my family's misfortune struck my ears, and I fell back afraid against my maid. I lost my senses. Still, tell the story again, whatever it is, for I am used to trouble.
Dear lady, I will witness of what I saw, and will leave no word of the truth untold. Why, indeed, should I soothe you with words which must presently be found false? Truth is ever best. I attended your lord as his guide to the furthest part of the plain, where the body of Polynices, torn by dogs, still lay unpitied. We prayed the goddess of the roads and Pluto in mercy to restrain their wrath. We washed the dead with holy washing, and with freshly plucked boughs we solemnly burned such relics as there were. We raised a high mound of his native earth, and then we turned away to enter the maiden's nuptial chamber. The rocky tomb, the caverned mansion of the bride of death. And from far off, one of us heard a voice of loud wailing at that bride's unhallowed bower, and came to tell our master Creon. And as the king drew nearer, a bitter cry floated around him. He groaned and said in accents of anguish, "Wretched that I am! Can my foreboding be true? Am I going on the woefulest way that ever I went? My son's voice greets me. Go, my servants, and when you have reached the tomb, pass through the gap where the stones have been wrenched away, and look, and see if it is Haemon's voice that I know. For if my ear is cheated by the gods, this search at our despairing master's word we went to make. And in the furthest part of the tomb we found her, hanging by the neck, slung by a halter of fine linen, while he was embracing her with arms thrown around her waist, wailing the loss of his bride who is with the dead, and his father's deeds, and his own ill-starred love. But his father, when he saw him, cried aloud with a dread cry, and went in and called to him, "What deed have you done? What thought has come to you? What manner of mischance has marred your reason? Come forth, my child, I pray you, I implore." But the boy glared at him with fierce eyes, spat in his face, and without a word of answer drew his cross-hilted sword. As his father rushed in flight, he missed his aim. Then he straightway leaned with all his weight against his sword, and drove it half its length into his side. And while sense lingered, he clasped the maiden to his faint embrace, and as he gasped, sent forth on her pale cheek the swift stream of blood. Corpse enfolding corpse he lies. He has won his nuptial rights. Poor youth, not here yet in the halls of death. And he has witnessed to mankind that of all curses which cleave to man, ill counsel is the sovereign curse.
The lady has fled before she could say a word good or bad.
She is not so foolish to do something rash.
I am not convinced. Excessive silence seems to bode as ill as too much shouting.
I will go, lest she conceal something hidden in her angry heart. You tell true, there is also grief in excessive silence.
And now the king himself approaches, bearing in his arms a memorial to, if it is right to say, no foreign madness, but showing his own mistakes.
Oh, mistakes from thoughtless thoughts, stubborn and deadly. Oh, men who have seen kin slaying and dying, alas for the misfortune of my plans. Oh, my son, forever young by this untimely death, alas, alas, you died. You were sent away by my foolish counsels, not your own.
I think you have seen justice too late.
Alas, I have learned pathetically. Oh, some god was angry and hit me hard and shook me on fierce roads, alas, overturned and trampled my happiness. Oh, the ill-labored labors of mortals.
Oh, master, you have enough evils already. The ones you carry now in your arms, and those in the house you shall soon see.
Oh, what is left more evil than these evils?
Your wife is dead, the mother of this very corpse. Poor creature, just now by recent strokes.
Oh, heaven of death, so hard to appease. Why do you ruin me? Oh, you who have announced these grievous pronouncements to me, what word do you utter? Oh, you have slain again a man already destroyed. What do you say, boy? Why do you tell me this news, alas? Alas, the seal upon my ruin to add on my wife's fate. Alas, now I see this second evil. What lot still awaits me? I have just held my child in my arms, poor thing, and here is another corpse before me. Alas for the poor mother, alas for the child.
Strung by passion, at the altar she loosed her darkening eyes, lamenting first the famous death of Megarius, who died before and then of this one. And last, she called down evil fortune on you, the child slayer.
I am shaken with fear. Will no one strike me the mortal blow with a double-edged sword? I am wretched, alas, and I am made whole by wretchedness. These things will never fall on another person as to exonerate me, for I killed you. Oh, unhappy I claim it truly. Take me away. I don't exist anymore. I am no one. Let this rash man be led out of the way, whom my child unwittingly slew you, and this woman too, alas. I have nowhere to turn, nothing to lean on, for everything goes cross in my hands, and a difficult fate falls on my head.
Hey y'all. Make sure Facebook can actually hear us through Zoom.
Nice to see everybody again.
No, I missed y'all.
Yeah.
So good to see your faces. Amber, I love your lights.
Thank you. We decorated for Christmas, so yeah.
Phenomenal.
All right, I think we're live in the stream. Yay! Thank you so much to everyone who was watching live with us and who is still watching the talkback now. We really appreciate your time and all your support. Yes, so I'll give a question to start off, but please, if you have any questions for any of the designers or the cast or our lovely director, please type them in the chat. But let's start off with just, I think, and this could go to anyone, like, what was it like being theater makers working on a film? Very different process, yeah? And I think how was the like rehearsal process? How was the kind of performance process different? Would anyone like to talk on that?
I can talk on that a bit. Very, very, very different. We spent like 4 weeks roughly in Zoom rehearsals, and the last of those 4 weeks was spent with us just recording sound, which, let me tell you, recording sound from our own homes was probably one of the most challenging things I've ever done, because I am not a technical person. And then when we got to actually be in person for filming, it was such a totally different thing, because we had been rehearsing all of these things on Zoom. I honestly didn't know what it was going to look like. Like the fight that we did at the beginning, rehearsed that in person for 30 minutes before we started filming it the day of, while rehearsing with, like, I don't know, I think I had a fan and a chopstick that I was like, this is what this is going to look like, and they really showed up. I like couldn't be more ecstatic about everyone who's worked on this process. Y'all are amazing.
Yeah, I have some pretty goofy video of me practicing the fight scene alone in my room with like a stick.
It was definitely something that like I had to explain to like my roommates and my housemates, because they'd be like, "Oh, what was that last night?" And you're like screaming bloody murder at the gods or whatever for like solid hours. So it was like interesting, but it was also like really fun, you know, and it was like a cool way to experience doing theater.
Great, awesome. I have another question. This one's for Erica. What was the costume design process for this like, and how is designing for something like film different from designing for something like theater? Because it's obviously a very unique experience. Also, with all the COVID restrictions, you know, how did that change how you had to think about the costume design?
Right. Well, I first want to give a huge shout out to my peers in this whole film. Like, you all were so amazing, and I couldn't have asked for better people to design for, truly. Given the light of COVID constrictions and things, it was a little more of a challenge, but something that I understood was just going to have to be a roll with its kind of scenario. And truly, I don't think I can say this enough, that you all as actors and as my peers really rose to that challenge and let me be creative and kind of design in the moment. And Chloe and you, Erica, with your willingness to like take my ideas and be like, yeah, we'll make that work and we'll shoot it a certain way so that it all makes sense. Honestly, like it would be nothing without all of you on this screen. So I truly appreciate all of you for that.
Thank you so much. I think Marcy had a question. She wanted to know what were the locations that we filmed at.
Yeah, so we filmed out at Quail Hill. Basically, we found an area that like sort of looks like it was off the beaten path, and we filmed there. When we had Antigone at the end with her like "See Me, Oh City," We had people on either side of this walking path being like, please don't come out here right now. We're filming something. So it was interesting being in public places for that. And then behind the school, there's an ag area that we filmed in, and we filmed at the beach, obviously.
Yeah, it was interesting because, we're filming in like public places, like on trails and things, that there would always be people walking by who'd be like, what is this? What's happening? You're making a movie? And so it was definitely an interesting experience doing that compared to like, where we're normally in this like very enclosed like rehearsal space. But it was really great fun.
And if I can interject, I think we all got our steps in for like the week, especially as we walked up and down hills. Like we did great with that.
Oh, definitely. We had to like basically hike to our filming locations and then hike back to use the restroom or change costumes and do whatever, and then hike back to film again, hike up a bigger hill. It was definitely a process, but I think it paid off because I thought the locations were awesome. Someone else had a question. They asked, given COVID, what was the casting process like?
Yeah, so at the beginning of this process, we didn't know if we would be able to film in person or not. We had to do a decent amount of proposals and figuring out how to make sure that the actors and the production crew would be safe while we did that. So one of the questions when I was casting this was, are you in town or would you be willing to be in town? Are you willing to get COVID tests ahead of time, like having isolation ahead of time and things like that? But Fantine and Anastasia, who played the voices of the chorus that you didn't see, are both located significantly further away from Irvine. So I was very happy that they were able to be in the process, even though they couldn't be here physically.
Great. We talked a bit on costumes, so I want to talk a bit about sound as well. For Haley, maybe you can talk about this. What was the post-production process like, and like what was our timeline like? Especially compared to like the typical timeline of like a movie or film.
Yeah, so it was definitely, I feel like, an accelerated process. Once we were done filming, we finished filming like a week before Thanksgiving, probably maybe a week and a half before Thanksgiving. And we got home and it was Nora. Also, I was just working as assistant sound designer. Nora, who was the full sound designer for the production, did an incredible job. Like most of what you heard on the film came from her, and I wish she was here, but to talk about more of her process, because I was actually, my specific role kind of in the assisting with the sound design was going through a lot of the dialogue from everybody that we had pre-recorded before we filmed. So as Chloe mentioned earlier, like the week before we went down and filmed, we all were on Zoom rehearsal at the same time, all recording our dialogue for the production as just like kind of as we were rehearsing it. And so we had several different recordings to go through. So when I got like the first drafts from Chloe of all the footage, I would take the first draft and then I would like line up all of the audio from all of the actors in a given scene. We had like between like 2 to 4 takes of like each person, and so I would kind of like try my best to line it up with where I felt it belonged with the visuals, and then go through and find the cleanest recording for each person. And then there was a lot of communication going on between me, Erica, Chloe, and Nora as well, with like sending sound stems back and forth to each other. Our Google Drives are probably all a mess right now, just from all the different files being passed back and forth. It was definitely a very interesting experience. Nothing that I am pretty new to sound design as well. So like it was a very interesting and an insightful experience, really.
Great. We actually have a question from Erica's mom. Which is, what was it like for you as actors to see yourselves delivering the lines when you didn't know what your exact reactions would be for the given moment?
Um, I'll go ahead and answer that. It was difficult, but I feel like as actors, we have this huge imagination. So we have to just put ourselves in that situation and really think about what events are going on and how our characters are going to react before we even like were able to film it. I know like I had trouble with that and I had to go over my lines multiple times. And what was great was that Chloe actually had us say our lines in different ways on how we on how our characters would react to the situation. So that was really a great technique that Chloe gave us. And yeah.
Awesome. I have another question for the actors and probably for Chloe too as well. What was it like rehearsing movement over Zoom?
I'm gonna let y'all answer this one.
Any of our chorus want to speak on that?
I would just say it was super crazy because like I know for my camera was mirrored, so everything they were doing was the opposite that I was doing. So that was so troubling because I was like, wait, I thought we were doing it with our left hand, and they're like, no, we're doing it with our right hand. So that was very difficult, and also we don't have a dance studio, so we do not have this the space like we normally would have. And our rooms, like I'm pretty sure like everyone else is like my room was kind of small. So like I remember I got a couple of bruises just by hitting like on my bed by accident because of these movements. But fun though.
Cool, great. Haley or Ella, do you either of you want to talk on that as well?
Yeah, just adding on to what Jamie said, it was an interesting experience, and like Jamie said with the mirroring thing, that was an issue I think a lot of us were dealing with, like having to like overly clarify, okay, wait, we're using our left arm here, right? Just to make sure, because like what we were seeing on screen didn't always match up with like what we were supposed to do. And adding on to that too, like Zoom generally just also has a delay between the different people. So we would have Fantine and Anastasia on our Zoom movement calls with us speaking the chorus lines, which I'm sure that was also a super interesting experience for you guys too, just watching us like do all the movements that was delayed and stuff. But and then I couldn't look at the screen when I would practice because Jamie and Ella would be like a movement ahead of me, and I was like, am I missing a step here? What's going on? But it was just the Zoom delays. I don't know, Ella, if you have anything to add on to that.
Yeah, pretty much what you guys said. Like, it was a lot of fun, but it was harder over Zoom. Like, it's hard to see every little detail in the movement over Zoom because the camera only shows so much. But once we got there to the actual locations, we all figured it out together and it worked out.
Great. A question from Erica. Fantine and Anastasia, how did you two get into character for these chorus roles? I think especially given that you knew we wouldn't be seeing your faces as you were acting, but we can hear your voices. So I think also, how is that different for you as an actor working on a vocal only role?
I think that one of the things is that we had to be very focused on exactly what we were trying to say and being clear with that intention, possibly even more than you would have to be in person, because then you at least have some movement to also kind of counteract whatever the audience did not get from your voice. But you had to completely be committed in every way. And sometimes we would even do things like we were using objects to be the different people in the scenes that we were describing and things like that that you weren't seeing, but would help us kind of imagine and create this story in our head. And I think just a lot of like text work, because obviously the text of this play is very unfamiliar to a contemporary ear.
Yeah, I definitely agree with whatever Anastasia says. Also, it's a lot of imagining work for me. Like I have to imagine this scene going on, even though this action is not happening in front of me yet. Like I'm a step forward. Um, and also, I had to try to connect with Anastasia, whom I've never met in person, and so it was just very in the beginning it was kind of difficult trying to match, but then later on as we kept on rehearsing, it's like, oh, we get the flow. This is the energy that's going on, and I really miss that energy because like energy is something that you'd feel in person, and I'm glad I got to experience some kind of that through Zoom.
Wonderful, thank you. We have another question from the audience. Carol's asking, could you talk about why this play was selected? Was it a fitting for the moment, or just something you have wanted to do, or maybe something you could see yourself being able to do?
I love this play so much. So part of it was just that I wanted to do Antigone, and my assignment in grad school this fall was to do a language-driven play. That was part of it. But also, I wanted to do a full female cast version of this because we're at a point in time where we're recognizing that gender is performative. And so what does it actually mean when we have this really toxic relationship between Creon and his view of women, and this idea of who holds the power in this space, and something that is typically a gendered power being more about people who have been raised with that sort of privilege, who are the men within this space, versus the people who have been raised without that privilege being the women in this space, right? So that was really my main goal in talking about this, is examining gender roles, but also examining what does power actually look like in our society, right? That, and it's a great play. And I knew that we could do a lot of movements in it. And I thought in this virtual world that doing a really heavily movement-based play would be just the most fun.
Great, thank you. I think we have time for maybe only a couple more questions. So if anyone in the audience has anything to put out there, please do. I would like to ask Erica about your about your choice for the masks and the design process with all the masks, because that was something we had to think about with COVID regulations in place, is doing a show like this wearing masks, and how that makes it different. But could you speak about your process for incorporating that so seamlessly into the costumes?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Erica. What was really interesting is I didn't capture this idea until I was talking to a different professor who deals in production design, actually. And he was talking about how you can work within limitations and restrictions, and how it can actually add to a performance. And with COVID, we think it's like the end of the world with costumes. We can't do in-person fittings. We can't really touch actors and things. And then we also have to incorporate masks, which cover half of an actor's face. And that's a huge part of what you all do as actors, is portray emotions via the face. And I think, first of all, that you all did an amazing job with whatever I threw at you. But also it was the idea of how can I add to your characterization via masks, and what can we show about who you are as a character with whether it's a clay mask that has fangs and teeth, or it's just a beaded mask that kind of covers delicate features of a feminine face. And I took it as not a restriction, but actually as maybe a creative challenge to see how I could incorporate part of your characterization with costumes and make something that looked like it belonged to who you are in this world as a character, which also kind of ties into the zip tie crown, because Creon is part of a half-empty empire, and it's so fractional, it's so fragile that you see the cracks and you see the empty spaces that are within that society, and it can also be seen within the crown itself via zip ties. So yeah, I would just want to say again that you all as actors took an amazing job of giving what I gave you and making it work so flawlessly with your characters. So, I mean, actually, if I can ask the question now and ask what it was like for you all to get costumes the day of filming and then incorporate them in such a way, like that sounds crazy to me, and I'm so sorry that you had to do it this way, but what was it like for you and how did it shape your characters?
Well, I'll answer. No, I thought it was wonderful. I mean, every time I do a theater production, getting costumes like really pulls you into the world genuinely. And even though you think you're in character before, you never really are until you put on the costume and you're like, oh, okay, this is better. So, I mean, it was the same thing. We showed up on the day and we put on the costumes and it was like, oh, it was good. So yeah, but it added to the character tremendously, and it showed me things about the character and the way that I wanted to portray the character that I hadn't seen before I actually put on the clothing.
I just wanted to say I have such appreciation for clothing and costuming, especially when we're filming the beach scene. Like, oh my God, I've never wanted to be fully clothed in my entire life after doing that beach scene. It was absolutely incredible experience, but also extremely difficult. And Erica, thank you so much for doing an amazing job. Like that was amazing. Like the zip tied crowns that you did. Oh my God, the mask. It was just absolutely amazing. And just thank you again.
Does anyone else want to speak on that? Okay, cool. We have another question from the audience from Julie. And this is for you, Yvonne. They want to know how you, as a first semester student, got involved in this process.
Yeah, I got an email that there was auditions being held and I auditioned for it. So yeah.
Great. It must have been really interesting to have your first project at UCI be kind of like rehearsed online and then happening during this crazy time.
Yeah, and actually this is my first Zoom play ever. I mean, first online show, and it was a fabulous first one, and hopefully there'll be more and they'll be just as wonderful.
Great. If we don't have any more questions from the audience, I think we can wrap this talk back up. But I would like maybe us to go through once and just say your name and the part you played in this, and any last words you have for those of you who are still watching the talk back. Thank you very much. So I'll start. My name's Erica, and I was the assistant director and stage manager for this show. And I'm just so thankful to have been able to be a part of this process during this crazy time and able to create art with these beautiful humans. So thank you so much for all of that. I'm really incredibly thankful. Thank you, Chloe, for asking me, even as an alumni, to jump on board for this. Thank you so much. I learned so much from you. I'll pass it to Chloe.
Hey, I'm Chloe. I'm the director and did all the video editing for this. I love y'all so much. I really could not have asked for a better group of people to go on this journey with me. And every time that I watch things, I'd go through clips and I'd hear whatever we were doing in the background of the film. And I was just like, I miss these humans. Y'all are amazing. So thank you so much for being willing to go on this journey with me. I will pass it over to Erica.
My name is Erica Johnson. I'm a MFA costume designer here at UCI. I'm incredibly grateful for every single person on the screen. You all have done so much for me, even if you weren't someone I costumed. I truly enjoyed getting to hear your voice and getting to work with you in some way. And really, I would just like to say, I can't wait for that background scene or extra clip of all of my favorite actors dancing to WAP. I think that would be such an amazing Christmas or holiday gift. But with that being said, let me pass it to Jamie.
Hi everyone, my name is Jamie Collazo. I play the guard and the chorus, and I just want to say thank you to all you amazing human beings. You are absolutely amazing. I love spending every rehearsal, every day of like we were recording, even though it was very cold one of those nights and those long hikes. You guys are absolutely amazing, and thank you so much, and I love you all. And I will pass on to Ella.
Hi, I'm Ella Leanne. I played Haemon in chorus, and this was just one of the most exciting experiences of my life. And in quarantine, for sure, it was so much fun to actually go out and do something with all these amazing, talented people. The whole process was so much fun, and I'm just so happy that I got to do it and be a part of it. I'm going to pass it to Amber.
Hi, my name is Amber Donnelly. I played Antigone, and I wanted to say thank you so much to this entire cast and crew. You have taught me so much, and I really, really enjoyed all of our time together. I'll pass it to Haley.
Hi, I'm Haley Fitzpatrick. I played Ismini and chorus, and also assistant sound design to the production. And adding on to what everybody else said, this was truly such an exciting, fun experience. Given COVID restrictions and just like the state of the world, it was like I was a little unsure of like how this whole thing was gonna go, but like honestly, this was like one of the most exciting and coolest productions I've just ever been a part of, despite it not being live theater. And it was truly just a great time. So I thank everybody on the screen for making it such a lovely experience all the way through. I'm gonna pass it to Fountine.
My name is Fountine, like water fountain, but Fountine. And yes, that I say that every time I introduce myself. I played the chorus, and this is actually my first DCP at UCI. So I'm really honored and grateful to have my first time with you guys. And I'll pass to Anastasia.
Hi, my name is Anastasia, and I was also a part of the chorus. This was super cool to be able to do something that was remote, and I feel like it was, we kind of proved to the world that you could definitely still do art and still make it safe and also really fun and create something really beautiful. So I think that's something really special that we can give everyone. And I'll pass it to Yvonne.
Hi there, I'm Yvonne DiGirolamo, and I played Creon. And yeah, I mean, everyone's already said it. I'm so thankful for this whole production, and I had so much fun.
All right. I think that's everyone. Thank you so much to everyone who watched our premiere tonight and who stayed through this talkback. We're so appreciative. And it's gonna be up on YouTube after this for anyone else to see. So if you liked it, tell people to go on YouTube and watch it. Yeah, thank you so much, and I hope you all have a great night.